Hey guys, welcome to our channel. I'm Yuri and this is my recent project, a scratch build glider for the beginners. Hope you can see the whole thing. Well, it's actually a motor glider because it has a motor and a pusher prop. The video of its maiden flight is this, and the link will be in the description below. I promised to make a build video to show and to tell you guys how to build such a glider, so promise is a promise. And today I will start building yet another glider, not exactly this one, but a bit smaller and simpler. Almost same configuration, same material, same building techniques, with the major difference will be that the smaller glider will have no ailerons like this one. Simply don't need ailerons on a glider of that size. Let's get started. And we shall start with electronics and accessories you would need to build such a glider. Okay, so let's talk about electronics and accessories for your glider. I'll try to make this section brief just because a big variety of electronic components from different producers available in the market, and I don't want to give you a recommendation as to which specific make or model of any electronic component you would want to buy. But I will give additional information on screen, so you could always pause the video and read it. And we shall start with the most important and the most expensive component of all your electronics, which is your radio, including transmitter and onboard receiver. The next thing is, of course, the battery, which will power all the electronics on board your glider. Another important element is the electronic speed controller, or simply ESC, which you will connect to the receiver and to the battery, and these three wires are connected to the brushless motor using small bullet connectors. You need to make sure that the rotation direction of your motor is correct because it's a pusher plane, so you can reconnect any of the two of the wires and it will change rotation direction. Of course, you will need a propeller. What's important here is that the leading edge of your propeller is facing the motor, otherwise it will lose efficiency. To control the elevator and the rudder, you will need two servos. If you want ailerons on your glider, then you will need two more, so 4 in total. In this case, if you have only 4-channel receiver, you will need so-called Y cable, looks like letter Y. You will also need control horns. Of course, you can make control horns yourself, just a piece of plastic. But these are good because they have adjustable clevises and you can adjust the length of the push rod using these clevis. And if you don't have adjustable clevis, then you will need this small thing, the push rod stopper. So this is basically it. And then we will talk about the materials and expendables for our glider. This glider, except for some structural elements, is made of foam. It's a wing skin, fuselage, side panels, formers, battery hatch, tail. All these elements are made of this, and this is foam sheet, 3 millimeters thick. And it's used here as a flow insulation, but you can use any other available material like Depron, for instance. Other elements which I mentioned include the bottom plate of the fuselage, and it is made of corrugated plastic. I will just bend its nose tip slightly so it will look like ski. And I'm using it because this glider is for the beginners, and you need to protect it from rough landings. And I like this material very much because it's cheap, it's lightweight, and it's strong enough and it's easy to cut. I even make main spar of the wing out of the same material. Then for the tail boom, I'll be using a section of the fishing rod, same as it is here. It's also a section of the fishing rod. These wires are push rods, and for the push rods you will need steel wires. These are 0.8 millimeters in diameter, and these elements here are bowdens, and bowdens are made of Q-tips. You just glue them to the tail boom, secure additionally with a piece of shrink tube, and you are done. And other materials include plywood for the firewall and for the servo tray. Then I'll be using barbecue skewers, I'll be using toothpicks, and the tape. This is double-sided tape, and I use it for the hinges, for the elevator and for the rudder. And then packing tape, black, you can use any other color, whichever you like. Masking tape, and the glue, of course. I'll be using this glue, and it is foam-friendly Titan Wild, but I won't be using it as it is because it's too thick, so I always make it thinner by adding alcohol, pure spirit, not vodka, of course. And it will reduce glue consumption, it will speed up your process, and will make your model lighter. If you don't have this glue, you can use any other, like UHU. So this is basically it, and we shall move to the next step. And the next step is to print out plans. And after printing out plans, we will make templates and we will start building process. I printed just 2 pages of the plans which relate to the tail of the glider, and I already made templates for the horizontal stabilizer, vertical stabilizer. So here is the template for the horizontal stabilizer. The red line here is a center line, and the dotted line here is actually a cutting line which separates the stabilizer itself and the elevator. Same way for the vertical stabilizer, with a dotted line showing the separation between the stabilizer itself and the rudder. This small element here is the support which goes underneath the horizontal stabilizer and will be glued to the tail boom of the glider. This element here is the template for the winglet. So now we have these templates ready, and we can start the actual building process. I decided to start with a wing skin, and wing skin is just a rectangle, 86 centimeters including small margin, and 35 centimeters here. The dotted line shows the center line. This line here is the folding line, or actually the line which indicates where the leading edge would be. Another line here is the line where I will glue in the main spar of the wing. To fold the wing skin, I will be using 2 plastic tubes, not carbon, just plastic. So one I will use here to help fold it, and another one I'll place underneath. So it will help me to make the cambered airfoil. Okay, so now I have the wing skin ready, but before trying to fold it, I use this. This is the packing tape which I'll be using to make the glider look nicer, and it's right here in the center, which is the leading edge of the wing. So I use this iron, and before trying to use it, make sure that the temperature of the iron is right, otherwise you get this. So try it on a piece of foam before. Now you can use your table as your friend and try to fold the skin. So this tape protects the foam board from cracking. So you can see that now I can fold it, and what I will do next is I will use one of these plastic tubes and attach it to the wing. I will use masking tape here. Now I'll fix it again using masking tape. There you go. Now I'll leave it for some time before I'll be ready to glue in the main wing spar. I need to prepare it first. Now I have the main spar of the wing ready, and what I did here, just added 2 strips of foam on both sides of the spar, so it's less flexible now. What it also does, it adds the area for the glue when you fix it to the skin of the wing. What I also did, I made these 2 inclined cuts on the tips because I want winglets to be attached like this. The next step is to make bevels on the trailing edge of the wing, on the lower and on the upper skin, and you can do that using your knife if you're sure, but much safer is to use sandpaper. So just do it very carefully by moving the sandpaper like this. So now the wing is almost ready to being assembled, and I will start with fixing the wing spar to the skin. I'll do it in 2 steps. Step 1, I will apply glue, which I mentioned before, to the spar, and now I can fix it. Step 2, I will additionally fix it using hot glue gun, so it is fixed nicely. The next step again is to apply glue to the upper part of the spar, same as before. Now I have the sort of a trail of the glue on the upper skin, and I will add some glue here. So now it is ready, and you can fix the skin. And I'll use masking tape again. And there you go. For the better result, you may place something heavy on the wing. I don't think I need it. As you can see, I didn't fix the trailing edge of the wing because I want cambered airfoil, and for that I'll be using this tube. So I'll place it underneath as I explained before, and then the wing will be like this, but it will be the next step. You can see how the airfoil looks. in what's left, just to finish the trailing edge. And I will use the same glue here again. As you can see, the upper skin is not flush with the lower skin, but I have some margin. I expected that, so I'll deal with that after I finish the trailing edge. So I applied glue on the lower skin and I distribute it evenly. Now I give it a few minutes for the glue to dry out a bit, and I will use the same pieces of masking tape again to fix it. Now I put my wing aside for some time and turn my attention to the tail of the glider. The tail of the glider, the horizontal stabilizer, vertical stabilizer, are made of 2 layers of foam, like this, with the elevator, same way with a vertical stabilizer and the rudder. What I will need, I will also need 1 barbecue skewer. I made it symmetrical, so this edge is also conical the same way as it is here. And I will make a shallow groove on the horizontal stabilizer. It will be like a bed for the spar to be placed in between the layers. Almost the same way, I will use 2 toothpicks, and the toothpicks will go between the layers of the vertical stabilizer like this, and they are needed for the alignment of the vertical stabilizer relative to the horizontal stabilizer. I have the center line here marked. What I will also need, I will need double-sided tape to make hinges for the elevator and for the rudder. I will show it. Also, yet another barbecue skewer cut in 2, and this will be used like struts to support vertical stabilizer and the horizontal stabilizer. These 2 small pieces of foam are supports. As I said, they will go underneath the horizontal stabilizer, and they will be glued to the tailbone on both sides. So before assembling the tail, I will have to make bevels on each edge of the horizontal stabilizer, on the elevator, and the same way for the rudder and for the vertical stabilizer. Again, you can use your knife, but it's much safer to use sandpaper. I will show you now how I make the shallow groove and how I'll make hinges for the rudder and for the elevator. So I'll show it on a piece of foam. So for that, you take the ruler, place it on the foam, take a knife, and knife must be very sharp, especially its tip. So you do the inclined cut, then turn the foam around, place a ruler again, make some distance here, like 3-4 millimeters, and make another cut. There you go. What I also did, I fixed this barbecue skewer, which serves as a spar for the horizontal stabilizer, and I also connected the elevator to it using this double-sided tape. Same I did with a vertical stabilizer. I also fixed here 2 toothpicks, and I also attached the rudder to the vertical stabilizer using the same double-sided tape. Now you can see what I have here. This is vertical stabilizer and one half of the rudder. This is the double-sided tape. So one final touch here would be to apply glue to the open area, same to the second half of the rudder, and connect them together. These holes here are for the struts, and you can see these two toothpicks sticking out. And then I have the horizontal stabilizer almost ready too. What I don't like here is this blunt leading edge, so I'll have it rounded. And these holes are for the struts as well, and these two are to the vertical stabilizer to go through, like this. So I will fix the struts. And it will be like this. Of course, I'll make sure that these two are perpendicular. Now I have all the leading edges rounded on the horizontal stabilizer, on vertical stabilizer, and the trailing edge sharpened everywhere. Not really necessary, but I like it better that way. And I have also installed the control horns here and here. As you can see, I trimmed off sticking out struts and toothpicks, so it's all in place now. And I'll fix the struts. Now I'll check it again. So the tail is ready to be fixed to the tail boom, but now it's time to return my attention to the wing again. It's not much left to do here, but still something needs to be done. And the first thing I will do, I will cut off the central part of the trailing edge here. It is 68 millimeters and 15 millimeters. And that's because I want to move the wing backward a bit when it sits on the fuselage. And when it's done, I will place a small piece of barbecue skewer right here, and then I will cover the central part of the wing with the same packing tape. So now the wing is almost ready, and its trailing edge here is protected when the wing is fixed on the fuselage using rubber bands like this. So the next step is to attach winglets, but the winglets have to be fixed like this, inclined, making kind of a dihedral. If you remember, the tips of the main spar of the wing have incline cuts on both sides. That's exactly for the winglets to sit flat. It means that I will have to remove a small piece of lower skin here, and I will be using knife and add some margin when I cut this through. And then the finishing touch will be to use the sandpaper again, because I want to make sure that the surface is really flat. But before doing that, I want to make sure that the wing is sitting on the side panels of the fuselage nicely, but on the plans, the edge where the wing is sitting on the side panels is straight, so you can see the gap here. Therefore, I will make a template so that I will use this template when I finalize the side panels of the fuselage. So I'll place the wing like this, draw a line, and I actually done that already, and I have this template. So now the winglets are attached. I use the same glue and fix them with a masking tape. And the masking tape, of course, will be later removed, and I will additionally fix the joints using the hot glue. And now it's time to move to the next step, and the next step is making the fuselage. I'll start with the bottom plate of the fuselage, which will be made of this corrugated plastic. I'll do two things here. One, I will make kind of a step on each side of the bottom plate. It will look like an L shape. That's because when I fix the side panel of the fuselage, the side panel, which is made of foam, will be protected by the plastic. Next thing is to bend its front end so it will look like this, or eventually when I round the nose tip it will be looking like a ski, like this one. And I actually do make skis out of this material, and I like that because they are strong enough, they are lightweight, and for small model airplanes and not just airplanes, I think they are pretty good. So I'll show this on a small piece of plastic. What you will need to do is just to take a ruler, place it here, cut the upper skin only, then the side wall of the outmost cell, there you go. To bend the front end of the bottom plate like this, I've done that already, as you can see, but I'll show it how to do that on a sample. And for that you can use a heat gun, but make sure that you protect your free hand and protect your table. So I'll just turn on the heat gun. Just be very careful. After you bent it, you just use scissors and round its nose tip, so the glider will look nicer. Make sure that it's symmetrical, of course. Just like that. Now you can start assembling the fuselage, and of course before doing that you've got to print out plans, make templates like this side panel doubler, the formers, and cut out the real parts from the foam sheet. So I do have this former number 1, former number 2, it will be made of 2 layers of foam. This one is the former number 3. It will also be made of 2 layers of foam, but because it will be holding a motor, you can see it's already sitting on the firewall using small screws here. And I want to reinforce this former using barbecue skewers placed between the layers, the same way as I did with the tail of the glider. This one is the former number 4. Then I have side panel and the side panel doubler. That's for the left side, the same for the right side. This one is the battery hatch door, also made of 2 layers of foam glued together, and you can see the step here, and the step will be here too. Before gluing these big parts, the side panel and the side panel doubler, I have to remind you that the airfoil of the wing of our glider is cambered, so it's not a straight line on the edge. And I made this template showing the contour of the airfoil on its lower skin. I also made another template, so if you call this one negative, then I have another one which is positive, and it's easier to draw this line on the side panel and the side panel doubler, you make sure before doing that that this template is good enough so there is no gap between the template and the airfoil. So you draw this line using this template, and I will cut this out so the wing will be sitting on the fuselage firmly. What I also did, I fixed these two servos on popsicle sticks, and these popsicle sticks will get into these small holes on these side panel doublers like this, and they will not stick out because they will go through only the side panel doublers, not the side panel itself. So now it's time to start gluing things together and assembling the fuselage. Just one note here is that I placed this piece of Velcro on the bottom plate, and sometimes when you take out the battery after the flight, this piece of Velcro might just well go with the battery, so I fixed it additionally using the heat glue gun, and I recommend you to do so as well. So let's move to the next step, and I'll show you the process of assembling these parts together. So now I have let's say half of the fuselage assembled with the formers, with their side panel only on the left side, because I want this be open, I mean the electronics, and before moving to the next step I want to check yet again that the electronics works as expected. Yeah, that's the elevator, that's the rudder, that's the motor. But I want to make sure that the rotation direction is correct. So what I'll do, I'll just place the prop without fixing it, and what's left here is this side panel, which will go here. Then this small piece will be covering the motor from above, and then of course I will need to make the H door. What I also did, I fixed these two sets of Bowdens, and I have push rods ready, and then these two small pieces of foam which are supports for their tail, and the tail will be sitting like this. So I placed the horizontal and vertical stabilizer, the tail, on the tail boom and fix it with a hot glue gun. So now I will be able to stick the tail boom into the fuselage, into the central cell of the bottom plate, and I'll be able to rotate it because it's not fixed yet, just to make sure that the horizontal stabilizer is parallel with the bottom plate of the fuselage and eventually parallel with the wing. As you can see here, the side panel on the right side is already in place, so the fuselage is almost closed. What I'll do next, well, actually I see that the nose tip of this bottom plate is too long and it's too high, sticking out, so I wanted just to make it shorter, and I will again just use kitchen scissors and cut this out. And then I'll be using pieces of scrap foam. I'll glue them together, and I will form the nose tip of the fuselage. What I'll also do, I will have to make a hinge for the battery hedge door, but I'll do that only after I finish with a nose tip. And I'll be using packing tape to make a hinge. I'll cover the entire hedge door with a packing tape, and I'll make a hinge. And I also will use the same packing tape, black, to cover the bottom plate of the fuselage. So now I have fuselage partly covered with tape. I don't want to cover it all. And the prop already in place. Push rods coming out of the fuselage. I also have hedge door covered and this free end. So I'll place it like this. And stick it to the nose. Then I'll do this. Take another piece of packing tape. So what I'll do next, I will stick in the tail boom into the fuselage, and then push rods will go through the bottoms here, and then they will end up in the clevises on the elevator and on the rudder. And now I need to make sure that the horizontal stabilizer and the wing are parallel. So I can just rotate it a bit. So now I think it's parallel and it's looking good. Then I will use a piece of packing tape again to use kind of a handle to make the door be opened freely. Like this. So now I can fix the wing using these rubber bands, but before that I fixed already the push rods and connected the battery. So let's check. This is up elevator, this is left rudder, right rudder, down elevator, and the motor. It's okay. So let's fix the wing. So you need to fix it dead center and check again. So I think the horizontal stabilizer, the wings are parallel, and another rubber band is just to fix the hedge door like this. So as you can see, the glider is ready for the maiden flight, and the maiden flight will be coming soon, I promise. Here is the glider ready for the maiden flight. Actually I called it Egret because it's gray. So let's try and see how it flies. I don't do anything, I don't control it, I'll just launch it. It's a hand launch. Okay, looks good, right? Ready?
Okay.